Good afternoon and welcome to the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee meeting of Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. We've called the meeting to order, and it's time to ask if anybody on the council members have any conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda tonight. Anybody? That being the case, we'll move on down to citizens' comments. Yes, we have one citizen who wishes to comment, which is very rare, but that's good.
Okay. My name is Rachel Mysick. I live at 306 East 5th Street, Marshfield, Wisconsin. I'm here to talk about item number 7 on your finance agenda. I hope I have that. I don't have the printout. I kind of rushed here, sorry. It's about the rehab loan through Juneau County. I don't like to talk about things before they become reality. So easily to disappoint yourself, right? Anyways, I have a pending application in right now for the housing rehab funds. I'm not really clear on, I'm not a government person. I'm trying to catch up with you guys, but some of y'all have years on me. I'm not understanding of the wording of item number 7 as giving the funds back. I did speak to Steve briefly, but I just thought it was really important for me to come and say, hey, I have an application pending. I am workforce. My partner who took his motorcycle home, it's getting windy. My partner and I fall in the workforce economic bracket. So I think we do benefit by helping workforce. I read the EDB report on housing written in 2019. You don't have an affordable housing issue in Marshfield. You have plenty of units. What you have is workforce living in your affordable housing. So that squeezes out your disabled and your elderly and your low income from apartment units. I work at the cab company. I give elderly rides to 7-star, Neva Jean, daily. They can't afford the rent. And it's just, I don't want to see Marshfield turn into Wausau. So I will benefit greatly by this housing grant. Marshfield will benefit from this housing grant and increased taxes. Workforce will benefit by helping them get into housing, which will benefit lower income people and get them where they can afford their rent. So I'm kind of, this is an umbrella speech, and I'm sorry about that. And I am the macro of the micro of the macro, and I hope that my application is approved. I'm not, it depends on all these different qualifications, but I really truly believe Marshfield needs to invest in its workforce housing, like people like me. And my partner was going to support me on this, but he had to get his bike home before the storm. So thank you. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, anybody else then speak under citizen comments? If not, we'll move down to the consent agenda, which contains the minutes of May 7th, 2024 meeting, bills and payroll, monthly position control report, report of personnel actions. Are there any questions? Yeah, there's a motion. Motion by Spiro, second by Varsho. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up is item number 6 is request to recommend council approval of budget resolution number 08-2024, repurchasing lots in Daniels subdivision, presented by Jennifer Solinsky. Jennifer, please.
Good evening. For background, in 2021, the city purchased a parcel of land now known as the Daniels Addition, which was a lot subdivided into 23 housing lots. And at that time, the city entered into pre-sale agreements for 14 lots and has closed on 12 of those lots. Since then, we have entered into development agreements with lot owners whereby construction of the new home was set to commence by June 1 of 2023. Council could have granted an extension at its discretion for anyone who needed a delay. Failure to begin construction within that time frame, unless the extension was granted, requires the developer to sell back the property to the city at the purchase price less $5,000. The city was retaining that $5,000 from either the pre-sale deposit or from the purchase price if there wasn't a pre-sale agreement. In 2023, the city established a restricted reserve in the Economic Development Fund 205, setting aside $322,500 in the event that the city would be compelled to repurchase those lots. As of today, a developer has decided it would not build on 2 of the 4 lots and has sold them back to the city per the conditions of the agreement. And a budget resolution is now needed in the Economic Development Fund in order to accommodate that and potential future expenditures for the repurchase of these lots. This budget resolution is a not to exceed that $322,500 of potential repurchases, but the account would only be authorized to move the budget when the pre-sale or the resale has occurred. So in this case, although we would allow $322,500 worth of expenditures, we have incurred $74,659.77 for the repurchase of the 2 lots. So with that, I would recommend Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee recommend Common Council approval of Budget Resolution 08-2024 to increase the budget of the Economic Development Fund for the repurchase of lots in the Daniels subdivision.
Ms. Burrows, I take that as a motion?
Yes. I'll second.
A second by Natasha. Discussion? Yes, go ahead.
Are we going to have a report on the other owners of those lots to know when they're going to be rebuild, or are we going to do another development agreement with them to find out what they're going to do? We're only repurchasing 2 lots, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'd like to know, I don't know if that's something maybe I should wait till future agendas.
Yeah, or I'll just take it from here that it needs to happen. And I've had conversations with the city attorney, and I just, it's in my court. I just didn't get it there, but yeah, we're going to push hard on it.
I mean, it'd be nice if a couple of them would start to build. I mean, there's 4 houses out there. Yeah. And I know there's 4 or 5 houses, and they're nice. It's going to be a nice place. It just kind of, I know the housing market's a little different than anything like that. So just wondering,
We've been through this before, and I apologize. A couple of those folks have shown verbal intent more than once, but it's not happening. So we'll get a letter off that gives them a certain amount of time to re-up with a new agreement or to willingly just turn it back.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? I have one. Basically, the $322,500 is that's in a restricted fund, cannot be spent for anything else. But the clauses in the contract with that say that that we will refund that money at a certain rate. So that money is safe and secure, but it can't be spent for anything else.
Correct.
So this can't be counted as money for the Economic Development Board to play with or anything, right?
Correct, and that is why I'm transferring only the amount, authorizing the budget expenditures only in the amount of as these agreements occur. They aren't getting a deposit of $322,000 of additional expenditures. They're only getting what we know to be occurring in real time.
Okay. Do we have any other? We don't have any other form of it. Steve might have to answer this. Are there any other forms of housing agreements like the revolving loan fund that allow for that kind of refund to take place?
I'm not aware of anything except the development agreement that we're talking about right now. I don't know what you mean by other forms, but what Jennifer's referring to is under the development agreement signed. That's where it has a provision that allows us to buy back if they're not going to execute. But I'm not aware of any other forms or documents that talk about this.
Okay, so as it stands now, this is the worst that could happen to us.
I believe that to be true.
Oh, thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
You got an aye from Andy.
Aye.
Got you, thank you. Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next up, request to recommend the common council approval to turn back CDBG RLF Housing Rehabilitation Program to the state of Wisconsin, and Steve Barg is presenting this.
Thank you. Well, as Rachel mentioned when she was at the podium under citizen comments, the city has operated for many years a very successful CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Revolving Loan Fund, where we've been able to provide dollars to people in lower to moderate income status to be able to do home repairs and maintenance projects. It's been a good thing. It's 0%. They only pay back either when they sell to move away, or if someone were to actually pass in the home, the estate, the money would come back to us through the estate. It's used for many purposes over the years. We've seen lots of good rehab projects done. There's also emergency assistance available for weather and disaster related events. We have contracted for the past 6 years, since 2018, or maybe 2019, 5 years, with Juneau County to do our administration. And you may not think there's a lot of work to be done, but there are forms, and we're talking about federal monies that are being passed through. So there's work to keep up on that and make sure that we're doing everything according to the law. They've been doing it for us for the last 5 years. They notified us that they would no longer be doing it as of this spring. You may recall we went out for a request for proposals, sent RFPs to 6 firms. Only one, Cedar Corporation, responded with a proposal, which we have in hand right now. But shortly after receiving that, we had conversation at staff level about possibly that we could turn the money back to the state. And that's where the agenda item looks kind of weird, turning money back to the state. It sounds like we're not going to use the money that we have in that fund that's been recycled over time to benefit our residents. That's not true at all. What would happen is that the state would then take on the administration. And the way it sounds like, they would probably by default have it back to Juneau County, ultimately to cover this portion of the state. So the benefits to us in this, that we would continue to have access to the fund for residents in this community. We'd still participate fully through the regional office so people could get loans to fix up their homes. There'd be opportunities for us to get new funding coming in, which is not the case right now, based upon the way the state handles the new CDBG allotments. So that'd be an opportunity to beef that dollar amount up. We wouldn't be having more certification costs for inspection services of our staff. There'd be a reduction in administrative burden, and it'd be a good thing overall. So it might sound like we're giving up control. Really, we're just putting, as many smaller communities have across the state, putting it back in the hands of state officials for administration. Very few cities our size or smaller really do their own administration anymore. It sounds like most cities and villages have gone to turning back to the state, letting them run the program and still have access for their residents. So the recommendation would be that that the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee recommend council approval to return the city's housing rehabilitation program back to the state, with the ability to continue to access monies for our residents as we have applications come in to us.
What's your pleasure? I'd like you to get a motion on the floor before we discuss. So if you want to throw a motion out there, that's okay. Somebody?
Andrew?
You did.
Andrew?
Andy did?
I move to
Okay.
approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. That's for Natasha. Okay, yes. Go ahead.
Steve, you said that if it goes back to the state, they would do the inspections. Would they be driving here, sending someone, or would they contract with our own staff to do the inspection?
Well, like I said, Juneau County's done the inspections to date, and the thought was that, would it ever come to be more inspection costs for us, or directly our inspectors taking on more? Presumably, they would continue to do the inspections. It's interesting that Juneau County would still apparently be a regional office that would be working on behalf of the state of Wisconsin, but they wouldn't work directly for the city of Marshfield. So really, honestly, it's an overused word, but this would be kind of seamless to the residents here. They'd still be able to apply for loans, get dollars to do the fix-ups. And, I don't think the average person would notice a whole lot what's going to happen here.
Thank you.
More discussion? Rebecca?
Steve, do you know, would there be any gap in the time that these applications would then be processed? Because we know of at least one application from Marshfield that's pending. Would there be some sort of gap? Would the applicants have to reapply?
Well, right now, I'm only familiar with the one applicant, and she provided me the application pack, which I've been holding until we get this resolved. I don't know how soon they'll be able to get to it. Let's say we're able to notify the state, in a couple of weeks that we want them to take it over, how long it will take to get to that application. But I assume that after that, the timeline for processing requests should be kind of what we've seen in the past. So I don't know how quickly they'll get to that one, because again, it came in while we were still kind of working our way through the RFP process. But after that, I think I don't think you'll see much of an issue with timing.
Andy?
I'll make sure they try to expedite this to the greatest degree possible.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Thank you. Just mainly for clarification here. So in the last paragraph before the recommendation, you've got the 5 bullet points, but then, they're saying the positives, excuse me, but then it says, well, the city would lose control of where the funds go regionally. How does that impact us currently? Is that a negative? Is it a positive? I just don't know, so that's why I'm asking for clarification.
Well, it means when we hand it over to the state, I mean, if they decide to change things, let's say they decide to change the way they handle it and what offices they have, cover it, and they decide to move it so that instead of Juneau County handling this, it might be another office in the area or something. We're not going to control that. Those kind of decisions are going to be made by the state of Wisconsin, is my understanding. But again, that's a minor thing in the prospect of our role and what we get for it, I think. I mean, I think the state's committed. We've had in the last, I don't think I put it in the memo, but we've had, maybe I did, how many cities and villages in the past few years have turned it over, and they've done it because they're able to avoid the direct issues of administration and get the same benefits that they've always gotten.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve.
Yep. Natasha?
I'm assuming that when we transfer the money there, the money's going to be transferred sort of as Marshfield's money. It won't go into like a general pot. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct. That is correct.
It was my understanding it would go to like the big pot of money down at the state, and that it wouldn't be designated for Marshfield. And Marshfield would be allowed to participate, which is good. The problem is that I don't see that there's anything earmarked for Marshland in there. Marshfield.
Well, I guess I haven't heard that. I mean, I assume we'll be able to tap into the monies that we've submitted. And again, they're going to be able to get more monies brought into the picture that we're not getting now. I can verify that between now and the next meeting.
Yeah, but now
we don't want to wake up one day and find out that we don't have access to the dollars that we put into it, if that's what you're thinking.
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
Well,
okay. I'll definitely.
You have access, but I think it's competitive against all the state, not just our region.
That's a huge point that needs to be verified. Absolutely. I would think a lot of these smaller communities wouldn't have gone in to begin with if they forfeited money and didn't have the chance for their residents to be able to access it because it went to another community. My understanding is that's not the case, but I'll verify that.
Any other discussion? I'd just like to add that, go ahead, Natasha.
Well, I'm wondering if we should amend the motion to table it until you answer that question. Because if it does go into a big pot, it might change our decision on whether we would have Cedar Corp administrated or not.
You could do that, or you could make your recommendation for approval subject to a report on that very item before it goes to council. That's up to you.
Yeah, let's do that. So let's do an amendment where we are having a report about the money that Marshfield's sending to make sure we still have access to that money.
Okay.
Is there a second? Andy seconds. Okay. Discussion. Yep. The one thing, there was one thing that I heard mentioned at the podium tonight about the 2019 strategic housing plan for Marshfield, and housing rehabilitation is a big deal in that plan. Since 2019, we've done nothing. Really, that I think. I don't know, Steve, how many of these pass through your office a year?
Of these applications?
Yeah.
I've never seen these. They end up being dealt with in some respect by our building inspection staff and development services staff. But I couldn't tell you how many in the last 5 years we've had go through. I don't generally see them unless I ask for a report from someone. So I assume it kind of ebbs and flows. There have been times when the fund balance over time has been fairly low. Again, the only money that we have to loan out is money that's recycled as people sell. So the ebb and flow of the dollars available to loan out is
But isn't it also true that sometime this year, and I think it's supposed to be this fall, we're closing out another EIF, and we will have somewhere between 400,000 and 600,000 available that can only be spent on housing, which is very similar to these funds. Isn't that correct?
Well, yeah, we're going to have 1 year of tax increment dollars from the closure of TID 5 that we can use for affordable housing. And my recollection is it's somewhere in the neighborhood of between 400,000 and 500,000. And we've spec'd out a number of acceptable uses. We need to nail down how we're going to use those funds, because it can be a variety of purposes. It could be for things related to single family, it could be rental, anything that we can demonstrate would benefit lower to moderate income people. And I think the vast majority of the money needs to be used specifically for that demographic.
And you're not recommending that 600,000 or 400,000, whichever it is, that we're going to be receiving be shipped to the state too, are you? I mean,
no, that's totally, no. That'll be money that we'll have in our coffers and we'll be having to account for.
This one is not under HUD jurisdiction?
No, that's those just 1 year of tax increment financing the state allows us to keep. And that'll be, for our own purposes, we'll have to account for it. And but we'll be housing it here and making determinations on how to spend those dollars.
Is that going to be figured into next year's budget too?
Yeah, it is, I imagine. I haven't really thought about it in the budgetary sense, but yeah.
Okay.
True.
Please do. Okay.
I see Jennifer's hand.
Jennifer,
go ahead.
Just as a point of reference, we have 32 active loans right now in CDBG. So we've had this program for
a long time.
A long time, and we've got 32 active participants as of today.
I remember, I can remember when it was done to set that money aside, and I did not know, I lost track of it somewhere. I did not know that Juneau County was administering.
And again, those can literally be from people who got a loan in 2021, or somebody got a loan in 19 whatever. I mean, and has been living in that house for 25 years. And that's the whole thing about this program. It's a wonderful program. You don't pay anything until you move. But as a result, you can carry a lot of active loans on the books at any given time.
We have a motion on the floor to amend until a report is received by the full council concerning the liquidity of those funds, I believe would be the way to call it. But are they liquid enough that we can use them, or do we have to go through the state to use them? That's what I take that to mean. I think Steve has got a good handle on it, though, so what we're looking for. So if there's no other discussion, are you ready to vote? If so, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so moved. Thank you very much. When? That's right. Go back to the full motion now, and that's to send it to council in the first place. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? There being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, Andy. Anybody else? Okay, that motion carried unanimously. Okay, we're down to item number 8, request to recommend council approval of a 3-month extension of the current agreement with Cedar Corporation for Economic Development Services for the period July 1, 2024 through September 30, 2024, presented by Steve Bart. Steve, go ahead.
Thank you. This item and the next item kind of run together. You can tell the next one is with SEH for another 3-month extension. And, we wish we weren't doing this. We wish we had staff in both the positions of community development director and senior planner, but we don't at the moment. So what the request is here to extend another 3 months with Cedar Corporation and Josh Miller, who is the current person who's their representative at this time, is to make sure that we can continue continuity with things like Weinbrenner and the TIF districts and everything and some of the negotiations we have going on right now with various developers. You may recall when you gave us permission, the council, in the first part of the year to do an extension for the second quarter from April 1st through June 30th. That was predicated on the fact that we had 3 other firms besides Cedar came forward, and they had a lot of qualifications and they had a lot of interest in working for us. At that time, we had just hired a person, and the thought was that individual would be working with us to try and determine next steps. Did we want to hire an economic development specialist and have this brought into a staff position? Did we even want to continue with the contractor after July 1st? Well, obviously, we're not in that boat right now. We're in a boat where we're still without somebody in that position, and we're left with a lot of projects to work through. So it would seem ill-founded at this point to seek another company for what could be a very short period of time, hopefully. Even in this particular contract, remember we talked about September 30th. This is time and materials only. If we get a community development director on board, that person starts, I'm making it up now, let's say they start on August 15th or something. At whatever point that happens, we no longer have to use Cedar at all unless we want to. And that would only be based on hourly from us contacting them and saying, look, we need your help on this particular project. So we're not locking ourselves into some weekly rate for the 3-month period. We're just covering ourselves so that we have somebody to help us with these projects to get through the work that we're doing currently. So with all that in mind, I would recommend that the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee recommend council approval of authorizing me to execute a contract for 3 months from July 1 through September 30th with Cedar Corporation for temporary economic development services at the same terms as we currently have.
Move to approve.
Motion by Varsho, discussion, or second by Spiros. Discussion? Rebecca?
Steve, there were no rate increases with this 3 months, were there?
I need to verify with them. Their rate increases at Cedar have only occurred on March 1st, but I still need to verify that there wouldn't be one as of July 1st. So I think one of the things that could be is if it turns out when I follow up with them that there will be a change in the rate, I would have to bring it back to at least the council level next week to verify that.
Yes.
But as far as I'm understanding, it will be the same rate.
Nothing with Cedar, nothing, we didn't see any rate increases
That's the one we're talking about, right?
or SEA.
I'll take that one up as we get to the next item.
Sorry.
Yeah,
No.
that's fine. No, I don't ignore you. It's all right. It's all good. I lumped them together myself, so.
Yeah, this is only green.
Okay.
Any further, Natasha?
I'm just wondering if we have any timeline for posting the position for the community development director. Are we right now, are we accepting applications, or do we know when that closes?
Yep, so it has been posted with GovHR again, and I believe it closes this Friday. So we should have an update hopefully this next week as far as candidates and things like that. As a side note, the senior planner position has closed. We do have at least one, possibly two, but I believe one viable applicant for that one as well. So both of these could be short-lived, which is good.
Any further discussion? How long has that position been open now?
The community development director and the senior planner, both, I believe, about a month.
Yeah, that sounds right.
How long?
A month.
Roughly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, since we last talked about it, but
Correct.
it has been filled now for a long time, right?
Neither one of them are filled yet. So the community development director or the senior planner, they're open right now, but hopefully to be filled in the next few weeks.
It's this thing seems to be dragging on. I mean, it just can't. And we've changed. I guess we've changed and I think the numbers you just gave me are correct in that that's the time since we decided to split the position and put it back and advertise separately. But how long were they open before that?
Oh, the senior planner position, we had upgraded that one. It was city planner before, and that had gone through 2 separate rounds of trying to find people. It's been approximately, it's got to be inching close to 2 years.
Yeah, overall, yeah.
For the planner position.
How long? I'm sorry.
2 years. Almost. And then for the community development director position, I mean, that is a newer one, but it's basically the development services director position. And that's before I was here. So it's got to be going close to 3 years.
I mean, it's very frustrating. The last community development director, actually called development services director, left in March of 2022, and the planner, we called it city planner at the time, left in October of 2022. So we've been without staff in this area for quite a while, and we're not thrilled about it either. We're hopeful that this is going to produce results to where people later this summer will be on board in these positions.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor to send this to council. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Put me down as a no, please. Any other discussion? Okay. If not, we're down to item 9. I'll request to recommend council approval of 3 months extension of the current contract with SEH for planning services for the period July 1, 2024 through September 30, 2024, presented by Steve Barg. Steve?
Thank you. And like I said, this one kind of ties to the last one in some respects. We've been using SEH for about 1.5 years now. And as Sarah said, we do have an opportunity, perhaps looking positive, hopefully to get somebody on board soon. But July 1st is coming, and we need to make sure that we've got the services of Bryce Hembrook to carry us through for Plan Commission and all the other stuff he does after that time if need be. So hopefully it won't be very far into the third quarter of the year, but we do need to have somebody on board to do that work. So the recommendation would be to authorize me with council approval to extend another 3-month period. Again, time and materials. We don't pay anything more than what we ask them to do. So once it's over, it's over. And I did get a notice from them that the hourly rate for Bryce's service would go from $140 to $145 an hour. But that's not really all that much in terms of the overall amount that we're paying SEH. So again, I would recommend council, our finance, budget, and personnel, recommending council to approve and authorize an extension for 3 months.
Move to approve.
Motion
Second.
by Farsos, second by Andy. Discussion. Rebecca?
Has SEH increased this every time we've done a 3-month contract? Because I feel like we're always talking about that one going up.
I think they've done it a couple times. My recollection is that in the fourth quarter of 2022, it was 130. And, now we've gotten to the point where July 1, 20 months or so later, it would be, 145. So it has inched up a little bit over time.
Yeah, it feels like it because these little short contracts, it feels like they jump on board to say, let's increase. So why are we doing these little short contracts? Why don't we do longer contracts and give them less opportunity and increase their rate?
Yeah, if we could go back, we would have, if we'd have known we were going to need it this long, we would have locked in at a lesser rate. But, in the bigger picture, these couple of $5 increases, given what charges are going up to the regular clients and everybody else they deal with probably is not out of line.
Any further discussion? Are you ready to vote? Okay, that being the case, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
Andy, what is your aye?
Aye.
Mine will be a nay. Thank you very much. Discussion? If not, we're at to the next thing, that is suggested items for future agendas. Anybody got anything? If not,
Move to approve.
move to approve?
Sorry, move to adjourn. Sorry, Ms. Beers, were you ready?
I was going to ask for something for future agendas.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
I wanted to talk about looking at the rates of the contracts between Marshfield Fire and the Marshfield Medical Center with their transports and pickups and all that kind of stuff. If we can look at the rates of those and talk about those.
That will definitely be on for the June 18th meeting.
Okay. Anybody else? Would the gentleman with the beard like to make that motion to adjourn?
Move to make a motion to adjourn.
Second by Andy. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. We stand adjourned.